It's really loud. Wow. All right. All right, so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us in person and online. We have quite a few people online today. Why don't we start off with welcomes. You want me to
Go ahead.
taking your job?
Okay. I haven't had enough caffeine to even be remotely articulate, so not. Thank you so much.
And let us know online if you can't hear us. I know that I think the microphone is coming from the laptop up at the front of the room. So we'll start in the room and then we'll jump to those of you online. So we'll start with Lindsay.
Yeah, I'm Lindsay Bailey. I'm CCI's program coordinator. I'm Abby Davids, UIDC's program director. Tony Estes, CUNY County Substance Abuse Council.
Susie Sturz, Idaho State Drug Awareness Program.
I'm Kristen, I'm the outreach manager for North Lake Ashland Recovery.
Rose Chef, I'm with CAHC Community Wellness Coalition in Chalice, Idaho.
Who's also our interim chair.
Interim chair. Interim chair.
Interim chair.
Jim Upland with CCI, BYDC, BYUI, it's everything else.
So our grant evaluator, Leah.
I'm Leah. I'm the director of the Idaho Radar Center.
Jerry Gowan, I'm representing the 2C Drug Free Coalition in Caldwell, Idaho, and Manchester.
Shannon McKnight with the Advocacy Coalition.
I'm representing Project Filter.
That's Ashley Needham, Clearwater Youth Alliance, working on Idaho activity.
Marco Erickson, Community Youth in Action Program Director in Idaho State Legislature.
Katie Phillips, Valley County Juvenile Probation, speaking this afternoon. I'm also the chair of the Advocacy Coalition.
Yes, it's great to have so many YAC people. All right, and then we have a former YAC member who just joined us online. So we're Sylvia, we're doing introductions right now. So I'm going to start. I'll call you out online if you could introduce yourself. We'll start with Danielle.
Hey everyone, Danielle Finopoulos. I'm the Corporate Director of Outreach for North Point Recovery Imagine program, and I'm a new seat on CCI for the Marketing and Networking seat. Is that right, David?
Yeah, membership and networking.
Perfect.
Heather.
I'm Heather Allen. I'm the new project coordinator for the Partnerships for Success grant for Region 4.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Kaylee.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm the Partnership for Success coordinator for Region 2.
Thanks for joining us. Kendall.
Hello, everybody. I am Kendall Nagy, Director of Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition and the Legislative Chair for CCI.
Awesome. Stephen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Hill. I'm the founder of Speak Sobriety.
Thank you for joining us today. And Sylvia.
Sylvia Ryan, former YAC director, and been on CCI board for, I don't know, feels like forever, but I've been around CCI for a long time. So I'm just getting ready to step down, but it's great to see you guys.
Awesome. Did I miss anybody online? Okay. And there's nobody that walked in the room late, right? All right, so next we will approve the consent agenda. So that would be the minutes from the previous meeting. Sorry, it's not April, it's May. That was a typo that I missed on the agenda. This is what happens when I do the agenda and not my program coordinators. And then, wow, not the March financial report, but the May financial report. So we're gonna make those changes to the agenda. And you have both of all that was emailed out with the agenda. You also have copies of the minutes in your packet today. So can I get anyone to make a motion to change my mistakes on the agenda and approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda with the corrections as stated.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Lindsay and Shannon.
Oh, sorry, that was.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next up, we will have Jim Hoopla with our evaluation reports of our action plan.
It's okay if I just sit right here.
Yeah.
No, we want you to get on standing.
You want me to stand up there?
No, you're fine.
Thank you. I need my glasses, I can't see, so. For those that don't know me, my name's Jim Hopley, the grant evaluator for CCI. I am going to be as brief as possible because I'm already on page 12 of my report and I don't think anybody wants to read it. Because I don't think, nobody wants to read it. So what I went through is I went through the action plan for CCI and up to this date with the new grant period, which starts October 1st up to, I think I stopped at May 31st. And just a progress report on where CCI is and what they've been doing. Their main reporting piece comes out of the DFC from the CDC, and there are two main goals. One is to work on increasing statewide collaboration. The second is reducing youth substance abuse. The unique piece of CCI's is that each one of the individual coalitions within the state works on drug prevention, and CCI's granting source works with supporting each one of those coalitions so that the youth is successful. I can tell you right now, just to kind of be as brief as I possibly can on this, CCI has been doing a really good job of supporting, especially within the collaboration within the state. The two main parts of the collaboration are working with partners and establishing new partnerships with different entities within the state, and then also working with each one of the coalitions to both either start new coalitions or to help support those coalitions so they keep going. Partnerships within their goal they met is growing that. I think we put it at 39, we're up into the 40s. And then we are a little discrepancy within the coalitions. The membership on the coalitions is at 9, because between 8 and 9 it fluctuates back and forth between those. And then there are 3 to 4 new coalitions that are possibly starting. I know David and his staff have been working on establishing new coalitions in those areas where we have gaps within the state, and then making sure that we have a good connection and a good network between the coalitions and the partners. CCI has been doing a really good job with it. I think in your package you guys can see where they've met a lot of their initiatives and a lot of their strategies and what they're working on. As you're heading into prevention on reducing youth substance abuse on the statistics that are in there, and I can get into the data sources. Right now within the state for Idaho, there are 3 data sources. You have the youth risk behavior survey with the Department of Education, and then you have another YARVIS, which is with the CDC, and then you have the Idaho Health Youth Survey, which is with Office of Drug Policy, which is ODP. Those are your 3 main where we're getting our statistics statewide. The numbers have been going down on each one of these 3 as I've been following it for the past number of years. Idaho Youth Survey, or Idaho, from ODP to Idaho Health Youth Survey, those numbers have continually gone down in the state. I can tell you right now, our numbers for that, if I can even see, was around 1,200 that completed the YARVIS. Sorry, for 2019, we're at about 1,200. When you talk about the youth risk behavior surveillance system, which is through the CDC, that's even less for the different states that are around us. And then Idaho Health and Youth Survey has gone down in numbers too. I think they're down 13,000 that they've surveyed throughout the whole state. One of the things we're probably going to have to address going into the future is which source. I've heard rumors with ODP, which Marianne was here, on whether we can continue to use it within our individual areas. I do know that some counties, some school districts don't even opt into it, whether we're going to continue to find different data sources, especially within the state. Some counties are really good with Idaho Youth Survey. They get a really good relationship between the coalitions and the school districts to continue to survey these. Well, other ones, they kind of struggle. Bonneville County is one of those too. So, but that's one of the issues I think in the future the CCI is going to focus on with the different coalitions. I don't. Well, yeah, I'm trying to cut stuff out. So, Idaho, if I look at those data sources, Idaho with alcohol between 17 and 19, we do not have the 21 data yet. I still don't have an answer. And I think at ICAD a couple weeks ago, I think people were hampering on Marianne from ODP to get her to find out what was going on with 21. So let's not make her mad. She's a great lady. Don't let her make her mad.
I did hear from her a few weeks ago that they're expecting for the data to be released by the end of June.
Great. Let's see what that comes out. I did compare 17s and 19s data, alcohol with the three substances that CCI focuses on. And so with alcohol, we have seen no change between 17 and 19, but I have to wait to see what's going on with 21. I know COVID has thrown a lot of things out of whack. According to the federal government, when I was at CADCA, and then also just with what I do, I teach a drugs abuse class, so I have to stay up on a lot of the stats. And so alcohol has gone up, I think, through COVID. So I'm anxious to see what 21's going to bring in. But e-cigarettes within tobacco and what we call electronic nicotine delivery devices or ENDs, we have seen an increase. It's a slight increase, but it is an increase. And we've also seen an increase with prescription drugs too. So those two areas we have seen an increase within the stats. It doesn't mean that nobody's doing anything in the state. It means that we're leveling that off. And I think with the coalitions, last time we did a coalition survey, 100% of the coalitions in the state are working with alcohol, and we got 90% that are working with prescription drugs, and 90% there's only one coalition in there that's not working with prescription drugs or no, marijuana. Yeah, that's the other one, marijuana. CCI has taken a good initiative with the marijuana and making sure that it's sticking within legislative pieces. I know Idaho, we're sitting on an island right now. It's coming down on us pretty good. I know that there was some really good conference sessions at ICAD that talked about high THC level deaths that are happening, and it is really affecting you. So I think CCI is going to probably take a more heavy look at that, of getting information out to parents, especially with extracting 99% on that THC at a high level. It's really affecting you. So CCI will focus on that a lot more. Plus, I think just with the partnerships that CCI has with Idaho Liquor Division within alcohol to help with that portion. And then obviously prescription drugs can take a bigger turn to get more information out to coalitions on fentanyl and just the whole fentanyl world. I don't back off of dealing with prescription drugs because the drug take back events I think are very good. And also just the way that we're trying to get those drugs off the street. So with that, I think CCI really is doing a good job. I think the action plan is not, and I'll be kind of straightforward with this, the action plan is not showing exactly what CCI is doing. Those need to align with the job descriptions within what the staff are doing. I think we're now working on those, I think within the board. So there's a lot of things that David and Chloe was doing before, but then also with Lindsay now, that is pushing that collaboration between the coalition, starting those new ones, and making sure that the partners are getting the right information, especially within trainings. They did a lot of trainings this year. Dave's podcast, brought some good guests on. There's really some good things that I think CCI is doing. Suggestions, just to kind of wrap this up, because I'm tired of talking and you're tired of listening, is, you better say that. There is, we did find out about a new program from the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, which is called Operation Engage. CCI is going to work with that. I'm going to help Dave look at it. It's called Operation Engage. And what Operation Engage is the goals of these, well, basically to get down to the objectives is to connect the DEA field offices with the communities that are working within prevention. This should give us a direct link with the DEA and our local DEA office and DEA agents within the state of Idaho to make sure that we're getting more resources that are coming in that keep us apprised of things. I know the DEA still, their number one concern in the state of Idaho is methamphetamines and how that's trickling down within our youth. But I know valence is another issue within the state too. So hopefully this will give us a better connection. So Dave and I are gonna probably take a little field trip and head over to Seattle and see what is local, because there were some things that came out in Canada that they're working with different states. Idaho is not on that list. So I think CCI can take the lead and that to get the information trickle down to the different coalitions. Another issue in there is that in the past they used to do a Kazon survey. I know the individual coalitions used to do a Kazon just to see if your coalition members understand what that mission and those goals and what really the coalitions are doing, and probably need to just get that information out and seeing what coalition wants to do, if we want to continue to do it by Kazon or establish our own type. But we really need to see from the coalition members of CCI is doing what they're say they're doing, and everybody understands what the mission is, what's the purpose, what can CCI do more, but we need to be able to do those at the end of every year to make sure that these events or what CCI is doing is meaningful. So that's just those two biggest questions on Operation Engage and Kazon. But anything else?
No, I just wanted to add that one of the hard parts about being on the staff side of the coalition like this is, and Lindsay has most recently come to me, with this struggle, and I know Chloe and I looked at it when we first started here over 2 years ago, was the type of work that we do at CCI is not direct programming. And when you work in prevention, you want to, that's direct, right where you want to go is direct programming. So being able to take a different look at coalition work where you're not providing direct programming, but you're supporting the fact that direct programming can happen. I have done some of that in the past in that other state that I came from, but so really training up the new people, because even Chloe she'd never done anything but direct programming. So it was, getting her familiar with this whole concept. She caught on very quickly, as Lindsay is too, which is amazing. But one of the problems that we had was the job descriptions were askew of our action plan when we started. And then we had leadership take over that looked at that and said, hey, let's not line them up, let's skew them even more. So it really not only took the job descriptions way outside of our action plan, but also really forced me to make some hard decisions as the director of this coalition as to look at how we're going to tackle some of these things. Instead of you do this whether you're good at it or not, that's not my way of doing things. We're dividing what needs to be done under everybody's strengths. So if you're strong here, like Chloe had a lot of strengths that were very beneficial, as all of you guys have used in the past. I mean, I know Kendall she's even zoomed in to take minutes when Kendall didn't have a secretary for a couple of meetings. She's came in and done, so there was a lot of tech stuff that she was really good at, but she hated social media. So why let the communications piece struggle because you're forcing someone to do something that they just clearly are not into, when I am very comfortable and familiar with it, so I can do those things, but it was seen as somebody doesn't know how to do their job, somebody doesn't, and that wasn't the case. It was looking at where the strengths lie and put those responsibilities with those people. In the end, if a responsibility was on your job description to get done, you were still, that was still your bad, but everybody was backing each other up. So moving forward, I know that I'm gonna need, as the leader of this, on the staff side, I'm gonna need a lot more support to be able to be flexible, because if we're gonna be rigid, you guys are gonna have to find the executive director, because I don't work in a rigid environment. I'm very fluid and flexible, and I want my, like, Lindsay's amazing at social media. She picked up and created something off of MailChimp. I was just gonna have her send you a normal, regular Gmail email, and she created something creative. That's amazing. Cool. I can take all of these things off of my plate that I don't need to be doing anyway and shift them right over to her. There's other things that are her responsibility that I need to teach her on, which is navigating the, like, our actual grant process and the reporting process. I'm not just going to dump those things on her and have a sink or swim moment. I want her to be successful. So Jim and I are going to really foster her through so that she can be that well-rounded employee. And then two, there was a lot of contention around that P word, that podcast. That podcast was born out of, everybody wanted a newsletter. There was a newsletter in the action plan. You know, less than 2% of you opened it before Chloe and I started. So I looked at that and said, okay, am I going to waste staff time creating something no one's opening, or are we going to look at how people disseminate information and try to be more innovative? So it's not my podcast. That podcast is CCI's. If CCI decides they don't want a podcast anymore, it's fine, it can die. If it was my podcast, it would be much more broad. But it is, you know, we have grown an audience. It has become, I mean, I only did, because forces strong, bigger than me have been kind of interceding lately. We only did 3 podcasts in the last, I want to say 6 to 8 months. And they're the most widely viewed out of all of our episodes that we've done. So there's tons of opportunities to give better exposure to our partners, to give better exposure to our coalitions that are doing some really cool, amazing things. There's opportunities to get that information out there where not only we, I mean, I listen to podcasts while I'm working. I have them on my phone just in the background, and I'm listening to them. I listen to them in the car. My kids hate it, but I listen to them all over the place. And I'm pretty sure almost everybody in here has, once in their life, listened to a podcast, right?
Yes.
Are we tired of opening newsletters? You guys are getting better though. We're still doing the newsletter because our open rate is at just right at 30%, which is actually really good for a newsletter. So thank you guys for not making us create a newsletter for nothing. It has gotten a lot better, but I don't see these communication pieces needing to be one or the other. I feel like we can offer a diverse way to get information out to our membership. And that was the preface. That was the reason why I looked at that direction, was just trying to get information out to people in a form in which they wanted to consume it. So, yeah, Rose.
First off, Kendall, yes, Jim will send his update to David, and David will send that out. And also to what David said, when David and Chloe took over, a very good friend of mine in CCI said, we set them up for failure because we didn't do the kind of training that was needed to get everybody up to speed. It was immediately jumping in the middle of a fire and spending the next, 2 years trying to please people and putting a fire out. You don't hire reliable, good staff members and then undermine them or micromanage or any of that stuff. So that was one of the biggest problems, is we basically said, okay, here you go. Oh, by the way, I'm going to change your job description. I'm going to do this. I don't like this. You have to clock in, kind of a thing. And that's not how we've ever done it before in CCI. And I don't think it's healthy, really, given everybody pretty much, a lot of people work remote. So I really appreciate David and Jim and all their efforts, and I think Lindsay's gonna fit in super, super well with what we're trying to do here. So thank you for all your efforts and for sticking it out.
Not a problem. I love prevention. It's the only reason I'm still here.
I know.
Anybody else have any questions? Susie?
Yes, I'm not familiar with the podcast and maybe I skipped over the email or something, but I don't know.
So we have a podcast. You can find it if you search on Google or go wherever you watch your podcasts. You search Let's Talk Prevention. And that is the podcast that I created for CCI. And we started out really tackling a lot of pandemic issues, what CADCA looked like that first year. Chloe and I did our first virtual CADCA, and we pulled some cool workshops out of there. And we did some, actually I got the idea, I'd always done radio and stuff like this before, but I got the idea from that first virtual CADCA because there's a coalition in New York that does one, and it's really successful. And I liked that whole field. I'm like, this would be something that we could totally offer, for Idaho, for the West Coast kind of situation. So I was like, let's do this. And, we tackled some issues like there was a training that Chloe and I went to, LGBTQ in prevention. And so I learned something out of that conversation with Chloe on the podcast that I never even thought of before, was that by and large, a lot of times when our LGBTQ folks, when they go out to socialize, they're forced into situations where there's a lot of substance use, like drinking and like smoking, and then drugs into the equation a lot of times. So I was able to learn something that while I was, going through this podcast with Chloe, she was able to share parts of her personal life with us to help us get a better understanding. So there was lots of things that podcast, and one of the podcasts we recorded with a guy who wrote an e-alcohol book who is in Europe somewhere. He and I zoomed in and found a time where he was awake and I was awake, and we jumped on and we recorded this podcast, one of the most popular podcasts we have. And he does have, if anyone's interested in the book, let me know. I will include his information. He's willing to give our member coalitions free downloads of his book so that you guys can use it. But some really good information came out of that podcast around alcohol and stuff. So yeah, that's what it is. The newsletters get sent out the last week of the month, normally about Thursday, Friday, and they get sent out to everyone. I know you've gotten, I know you're on the list. You may want to check, if you haven't seen them, you might want to check your junk folder. You might be following it there.
I'd like to see.
Any other questions?
Any questions for me? Yeah, if you guys do, the one biggest thing, just to final this piece out, there's a lot of things will change with the action plan. Action plan needs to be updated to reflect where CCI is kind of taking a little turn rather than assessing needs. It's going into more of the implementation portions to it. So there's a lot more that will go into that, push especially plan into the next cycle, which will be years 6 through 10. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
All right. So we will move on to, nobody had any questions online, right? You answered Kendall's. So we're going to move on to elections. Now, we don't really have elections because nobody wanted to be nominated for the same position. We do have some nominations that we need to vote on. I figured we could, did you guys want to do these in a block or did you want to do them one by one? Okay.
Yeah.
So the nominations are listed. Chair has, Rose has been nominated to sit as our chair. Natasha has made herself available to learn this process and be vice chair. Danielle, who's online, is nominated for a membership committee. David Roth has been nominated for the legislative committee. And then the two that we do not have anyone for is the workforce development or the internal organization. Now we can decide whether we want to, if those committees are necessary anymore, if anyone is interested in either of those committees. The workforce development is probably the one that I, as a staff member, is very helpful because it's basically helping us plan out all of the like mini training sessions. So what this was started by Charlene and Rebecca Sprague. And they were amazing because they would set up all these warm leads on mini trainings and coalition spotlights and monthly meetings. And then what Chloe and I did is we just went in behind and we contacted these people and we set it up and closed it, So it made less work on the staff. And the reason why you've seen maybe it be a little more sporadic is because we're trying to now fit this solely into our schedule. Sylvia was working with us on this, but she has taken on some new responsibilities, and then her personal life got a little crazy, so she hasn't been able to help us as much as she wanted to. But so is there anybody who is interested in the workforce development committee?
Now this is planning the trainings and that sort of.
Just basically helping us come up with ideas on what we should do. And if you know somebody in the field, setting up like they would normally do one of those CCS and an email kind of things.
Some handoff.
Yeah.
Well, I'll sure help because I think that's important.
Okay.
But I don't want to chair anything. Well, not what I'm doing.
Rebecca is back at CBH too.
What?
Yeah, she got Laura Smith's job. So she is back at CBH, so she may come back and do something.
Wait, so she went to St. Luke's for a hot second, then came right back?
Yep, yeah, I'm super excited to have her back at CBH.
So should we volunteer?
I think if no one does, then we just ask her to the next meeting and sort of ask her.
What we'll do is we can leave that open. So the internal organization committee basically was the thing that changed the bylaws and changed the.
I thought that executive board was your internal organization.
That's my thought process too, but like I said, it's been a crazy couple of years.
I don't think.
So is that one we could technically possibly wipe out?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
we want to keep the work, okay.
Yeah, I think so. We need a nom or.
So we need a
Maybe Grace.
question.
would do it. Nominate Grace. She's not up there.
No. So we need a motion to.
Nominate Grace for what? The workforce?
Yeah.
I will have a conversation with her. They have Idify camp coming up, so I tried
After camp.
to soft pedal my ass for Grace, but you're right,
So-
Grace is an amazing.
Sylvia, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I was just gonna say really it's just giving these guys ideas. So if you're really good at connecting people, you have lots of ideas, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to plan them. It's just, they need a think tank, basically, to put the ideas on paper or collect them so that they can go through and they have a resource to draw from. And then they would schedule it out, so it's really not that hard of a job. It's just,
Doing it at the right time.
yeah, like I wasn't doing it for very long. But basically I just met with Chloe and David, and we just talked about different ideas. And then of course I kept saying, get a hold of Dee Dee, get a hold of Dee Dee. So payback.
Yes, and she is the reason why we have Dee Dee speaking at our training today is because of Sylvia. So that's true.
So.
Yeah. So it's not really that, it's not like some of the other positions where you just feel like you have to do this big thing, and I don't know, with Laura's new responsibilities, she may not be able to be a part of CCI. It might be different. I don't know. She'll have to see, probably.
Okay. Do you have any more questions about the nominations? Anybody online? Okay. So does somebody have a motion?
I move we approve the nominations as listed.
Okay,
I second that motion.
so I have a,
Susie Sturt.
I'm like, binocular glasses reading.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, David.
all right, so we have a motion by David Roth and a second by Susie Sturts to accept the nominations as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so this is a makeup of our board and our committees. We will talk about the other two committees at the next meeting. So everybody can kind of think about what they would like to, what the future would be of that internal organization committee. The board can possibly meet and talk about that, and that way we're not canceling a committee knee jerk. All right, so the next thing is to go over the funds left in the DFC grant. I put this on here, one, because we haven't talked about this, I don't think, since I have been here. And two, I'm getting a little tired of carryover, so I'm trying my best to not have that anymore. So just talking about carryover from last year that was approved. We approved $16,000 for a statewide billboard campaign that we haven't done anything on yet. We allocated money for CPS training and certification. Lindsay, you don't have your CPS, right? So that would be for both of us. I don't know if that's enough, if we need more, but I believe I have the hours. I just need to take the test. Do you have the hours?
Not quite.
So Lindsay would need some more hours and then be able to take the test. The goal is to have us both become CPS certified because one, I think that makes us a stronger coalition. Two, we need more CPS certified people in the state. It's kind of scary how few of us are CPS certified, yet a ton of us work in this. Are you CPS certified? Oh, Rose is, that's good. It's good that our chair is. You are too, right? Yeah. So we have two in the room, right? Anybody else? Becky is CPS certified. Certified prevention specialist. Certified prevention specialist.
Oh. It's for 2 years and then you have to recertify, and so you have to get X number of continuing education credits. You have to have X number of supervised hours in prevention to recertify.
Yeah, this is Jerry's.
1,354.
Jerry is too.
1,354. And then
The CPS has really become important because to access the Office of Growth Policy money, you've got to have a CPS.
did you hear that, Marco?
You know, for the CPS is really important because as David said, and Rose knows, there are just, I don't even know how many in the state now, but it's not a lot. And I'm retired, so I kind of got a foot out the door. I know I just resigned on my behavioral health board and they don't have anybody now. But the other thing, my main point was just to secure funds from the Office of Growth Policy, which I just wrote the grant for the coalition, which we just received. It required a CPS.
Oh, congratulations on getting your received.
Thank you.
That's always good when you get funded. Yeah, so that is a problem is if you do not have someone on your coalition that is CPS certified, you can no longer apply for block grant money.
They give out money to people that are not CPS certified all the time.
Well, that's the,
Yes, but there's right and there's wrong in the gray area. We don't like the gray area. We like the.
we got a question up front, Tony?
Did you say there was grant funding to help get that CPS? I've never heard of it and I am not certified. And I'm always looking for more ways to help our coalition grow and get out to the community.
Yeah, so this is literally this is money that we didn't spend last year that we're trying to make sure we get spent, because I'm pretty sure, I'm trying not to, but we're gonna have another carryover issue for next year. I don't want to have, I think we were looking at 70-some thousand dollars that didn't get spent last year. And yes, David, we are not allocating enough money. We're not spending enough money on our staff. So I did find that out through my research. We have another $7,000 staff travel, another $5,000 that didn't get spent because we had to cancel that legislative thing that we were going to do in January. $9,000 that we didn't get to spend because I didn't get to hire fast enough so we could get me and the new staff member into the Coalition Academy. We did spend the money to get the new laptop for the director. So you are looking at that got spent. We are spending the money. We are revamping our website. It is in process. And we allocated $36,000 for mini grants, and we have spent 24,000 of that. So that is just carryover. We still have a little over $82,000 in our PMS account, and we have 3 months left in this grant cycle. So this grant year, we have $82,000 that we haven't pulled yet that is there. 82,000. So as we go through the agenda, I would like for you to keep those numbers in mind as we move forward, because we allocated $11,000 for ICAD scholarships. We didn't spend half that. So those of you who need CPS certification help, that falls within our action plan. It falls within our budget. Jerry.
Oh, I was just gonna add, for the CPS thing, I mean, I was drug in there yelling and kicking and screaming. I'm already an LPCP and a supervisor in Idaho, and I knew that it was important to continue to get funding through the Office of Public CPS. And I just want to say, I don't want to volunteer role, but for myself, I know having a supervisor for those is really important. I am willing, I mean, I do have a foot out the door in terms of retiring, but I plan to keep the CPS current so I can keep writing for funds. And I'd be happy to, if we want to focus on that for our action plan or strategic plan, be happy to supervise, and for no cost. I mean, just as a give back, and because we need those people to access the funding. And I'd like to get rid of it. I heard somebody say, yeah, I think that should go on, but I never thought it should have came. So
Yeah.
But I jumped through all the hoops, and I don't know about Rose, but it was very hard. I've had some difficult testing in my life, and it was very difficult. But I passed. And I don't know about you, Rose, were you surprised? When I came out of there, I was in there with.
No, I would have been surprised if I hadn't done it, just because I was trying to, foresee my future. So, did I get it? But there's one you can take an exam that, just like practicing.
Yeah.
So they're practicing.
Well, I was in with Mary Ann,
Oh, yeah.
the director of ODP now, and I know we walked out of there going, oh my gosh. I don't know what to get this. So anyway, I just wanted to volunteer. I think that needs to be an important thing as part of our how we direct funding, and I'm happy to sit down and supervise people to get that part.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that will be something that we need. We need people those of us who are seeking our first time with a CPS, it'd be good to be able to have you guys as support systems to make sure we're successful, because I have heard the test is kind of a bear. Heard someone say I need a drink after that, and that's horrible. In our field, that's horrible. The 4 grants that we have, the 4 mini grants that we have awarded are MADC is using the grant to create a new parent booklet. They had resources that were all over the place to bring them under one umbrella. Lapaway got the grant to bring pay for vape detectors in their school. Salmon had brought John Baronic out for strategic planning, and Idify used the money to bring speakers to their youth camp, which is happening, I believe, next week. So those 4 have been paid. We are planning on using some of that money to help with some of the other things that we have coming up this year, David.
Question, what is the process for applying for the event?
So there's an application that
Because I think I have had trouble finding that.
I don't think it's posted anywhere. If you don't have it, we will send it out with the application out with the minutes. But there's a simple application you fill out and then you turn around, get it to us. And I know you guys have
Ray Lozano.
Ray Lozano, and I already talked to you about that. So I haven't gotten your stuff yet, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, well, because I didn't know where to send it. So.
I will, we'll have it, we'll make sure we get it to you. What?
Yeah, I like that as well, the application.
Yes.
Just to have it in our face and regularly send it out, you know. Don't worry. That's good.
All right, moving on. So CADCA mid-year. So like I said, Lindsay is newer to a lot of these things. And I know Chloe and I, just the virtual stuff, got a lot of out of the virtual CADCA. I know that when me and Jim and Chloe went in February, we got a lot out of it. I mean, the fact that we're doing, Jim and I want to link up with this TA program was born out of one of the workshops that we went to there. And I know it was really neat to be able to team together with other coalitions that could only send one staff member. I know we hooked up with Abby so that she didn't feel so alone. She was part of the CCI team, and we kind of hung out together and we looked at what the conferences that were provided, and we kind of like broke down what was best for us. I know SIA sent like 1 million people. There was like, it was almost like it was the SIA conference, because it was like SIA sweatshirts and shirts and everywhere. So, but we have more than enough money. I know I'm interested in going. I've already talked to Lindsay. She's vaccinated and good to go. Jim has expressed interest in going again. Does there anybody else who wants to go to mid-year? Yeah, you're already going?
Plan on taking a bunch of you too.
Based on, but I'm asking for people who want CCI to pay for it.
Yeah, we're going in August with the kids, but I would like to do the training in July.
Okay. So that would be 4 of us going, 4 registrations, 4 hotel stays, 4 flights.
There's talk that they might do their own Idaho specific training. And so we're trying to figure out which we're gonna go to, either CADCA or Idaho specific. Charlene's supposed to get us the dates ASAP.
Well,
Do you know about that?
I heard about that today.
Yeah, there's like, so she's considering the first week of August and the CADCA is July. Some of us want to do CADCA and some want to actually go to that. So it's kind of a mix.
Is her thing's not going to be, is going to be funded though by them? We don't have to pay anything
Yeah,
for
it's
that,
funded
right?
100% by them.
So you could do both.
They're funding the youth to go. But the difference is, you know, the dates. Some of us plan other things already during those times if the dates aren't aligned, and it creates struggle.
Yes.
And the reason they do that is because there's a lot of kids in Idaho, rural especially, who don't want to get vaccinated. And so CADCA still requires that part of it.
Yes, that was the only reason that I got vaccinated was for CADCA in February. So once again, I love prevention, and I really thought, I looked at the trainings and thought there was something I could get out of it to bring back to this. So looking to get a motion that we can spend the money to send 4 of us to CADCA this year. And that would be to the mid-year. Why are you raising your hand, Kelly?
Yes, I picked that.
Kelly makes that motion.
Also,
Jerry?
Also, in that regard, I think we would get a lot more, I was looking back behind me, I think we'd get a lot more participation if we really got those dates lined out, you know, for like 2023, you know, let me know when they are, because I'm booked in July, so I can't go, and I've got our October meeting, you know, penciled in, so I'm scheduling around it, but let's really work hard on lining people out ahead of time to go and represent us, and that's really important.
Yeah.
I think the dates for mid-year for next year are already out.
They
Yeah, I
are
was just-
on the capital
I was
website.
just looking,
until July.
I see that January to February 3rd. Oh, no, that's 2022.
Yeah.
Should be
that was fun.
Anyway,
It's okay.
Yeah, well-
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Sorry, I was distracted by my need for coffee all day, but, the one thing about mid-year is I've been there one time and I learned it is such a different vibe and so much more relevant. I'm gonna say relevant, maybe that's not the best word, training than like the prevention conference that we go to in February.
And the leadership one's different, it's just different.
It's just more hands-on, it's smaller groups, it's less lecture and more real life
Sharing
applicable training. In my opinion.
I love that.
training.
I have heard that mid-year's better.
Yeah, mid-years was amazing. I only went once, but it was really good.
Well, it's good to know because we want to collaborate. I see a lot of the benefits of these trainings is the collaboration between other coalitions in different places. So you can learn what works, what might work in your specific area. So one thing we don't want to ever do is become siloed. The minute we think that we have it all figured out, we don't need to learn from anybody else is when we're truly lost, in my opinion. So we have a motion on the floor and a second to send 4 people to CADCA mid-year.
Is that virtual also, David?
No, that's in person. So this will be flying to Orlando, Florida in the heat of the moment. So.
Yeah, it's really not.
In the heat. Okay. Are we ready for a vote? Do we have any more discussion? No more discussion? All right. All those in favor of sending these 4 people to mid-year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Kendall keeps going to your screen every time I say opposed. It's weird. All right, so that is good. Thank you, guys. All right, next, we're going to be talking about our keynote speaker tour with Stephen Hill. So part of the October prevention conference that we're putting on in Moscow. I learned how to say that the right way at the Behavioral Planning Council meeting, Moscow. I was saying cow, so Moscow. Part of that is having Stephen Hill from Speak Sobriety, who is on the call with us today, come out, and he's going to keynote, I believe 2 days. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen.
Yes, I'm going to keynote the first day with my father, and then the second day we're going to do a slide deck PowerPoint presentation on some key prevention topics.
You want to tell the coalition a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Stephen Hill. I'm the founder of Speak Sobriety. I've been in recovery from substance use disorder for almost 10 years. And for the past 6 years, I've been going around to middle schools, high schools, colleges, universities, different conferences and events, sharing my personal story about my struggles with substance use and journey to recovery with a focus on prevention. I don't think you can have one without the other. There's definitely some resilience and recovery in my story, but my primary goal as a speaker is definitely prevention. You know, talk about a lot of different things like school policies, things that I experienced personally, being labeled a bad kid, out of school suspension, in school suspension, expelled, kicked off sports teams and school-related activities. Then could even get into the criminal justice system with misdemeanors, felonies, jail, prison, as opposed to alternatives to incarceration programs, things like that. So talk a little bit about my story, and then on the second day, break down some of these key topics and explore different ways of dealing, especially at the school district level, with troubled students, like I was. I always start my presentation off with the 3 main lines that were yelled at me as a kid. Stephen, what were you thinking? Stephen, why did you do that? Stephen, what's wrong with you? And as a 16-year-old boy, struggling with substance use, ADHD, and going through puberty all at the same time, what was my answer? I don't know. I have no idea what's wrong with me. I was walking down the hallway. There was a garbage can there. I kicked it, and you give me 5 days out of school suspension, and I missed half of my sports. And do you think that I got better or worse? You got worse. So that's just a very short of what we'll be talking about, but I'll be sharing my story, and then my father will be coming out with me as well to give the perspective of a parent dealing with not only one child with substance use disorder, but how it affects the entire family. And I have 3 other brothers who all grew up in the same house with the same family and never had any of the same struggles that I did. And so, how does that happen? Talking about how you can't parent every kid the same, you can't coach every athlete the same, you can't teach every student the same. And some of the mistakes that, my parents made, things that they've learned, and then just want to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions as well.
So part of what Stephen's going to be doing for us outside of keynoting with his father at our conference, he's also going to be sticking around in Idaho for a few extra days, and he's going to be visiting. He's going to be doing a training for the students at the University of Idaho in Moscow. He's going to plans. I've been talking to Natasha about this, about Orofino, Lapway, coming down to McCall, and then finishing out his time with us here in Idaho in Caldwell and Meridian. So he's kind of running from Moscow all the way down till he gets to Boise Airport. This is
It'll be quite the week. I'm looking forward to it.
the 3rd through the, I believe it's that Monday through Friday. So
It's in the agenda. 3rd and 4th.
So 3rd and 4th is the conference, and then his 5, 6, and 7 is when he'll be down your way on the 5th. Shannon. So the reason why he's here is because I'm swinging for the fences on this one. I really like a lot of what he talks about in his presentation. I think it's good for us to hear it as prevention providers, as parents, but also as people who are just kind of learning how we're going to deal with substance abuse within our teenagers and our communities. So the total for his program is $32,000.
Yeah, I checked. Stephen, I've been communicating with you for a while. Tony from Kootenai County Substance Abuse Council.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. He was a little rich from our blood up there, but I'm really excited to hear him. So
absolutely, thank you. Appreciate it.
So what I'm looking for is, does anybody have any questions? Because I am looking for an approval to spend this money so I can get his deposit put down. And he can book his travel.
What month did you say this was again?
October.
October, thank you.
Do you want to speak directly more to parents or kids, teachers, parents, everybody?
So I'm an it takes a village type of guy. I think that this is something that everybody needs to hear. I particularly like to speak to all different groups, because like even for an example, it's like I just spoke at a high school recently. I spoke to the students during the day and I spoke to the parents that same night, and the presentation is basically the same. And the reason I do it that way is so that I give parents an opportunity to have a teachable moment with their kids. I'm not going to tell them yes, of course, like during the Q&A, the questions I'm being asked by parents and the open discussion we're having is very different than what I'm having with high school kids. But the story is relevant for everyone to hear, and professional development too, at the education level, with superintendents, with boards of education, with just teachers. I mean, you'll hear when I share the full story about some of the things that I went through that I still see happening to this day. Kids who are, going home to a mess every single day. That's one thing that I did not personally experience, that in my 6 years of doing this, is the amount of kids that are going home to a mess every single day. We talk a lot in prevention about we got to help these kids. We got to help these kids. Some of these kids are not the problem. It's their parents. It's their grandparents. I spoke at a high school. I did like a very similar program this year in Oklahoma. They had me out there speaking for this two different coalitions, all these different school districts. And I talked to the school resource officer, and he says to me, this last week, something really came full circle for me, and not in a good way. He said, at the beginning of my career, I arrested this guy for drugs. And about 15, 16 years later, I arrested his son for drugs. And just last week, I arrested his son for drugs. So in my 30+ year career, I arrested grandfather, dad, and son for drugs. And so I really am trying to focus on breaking that cycle of this going on in the families. People who think that just because this is what it has been going on in my family for generations, this is what my life needs to look like. And, that doesn't have to be the case. But when a kid acts out in the school and he's dealing with trauma and going home to a mess every day, and school's the safest place for this person, and they come to school under the influence, and you kick them out for 10 days and you remove every protective factor in their life, do you think they're going to magically get better, or are they going to get worse? And I've seen this across the country. I've spoken, everywhere from Washington to New Mexico, Florida to New York, and it's the same. The stories are all eerily similar, and the problems are eerily similar. They really are. And so I'll share my story in a way so people can, really see how this happened to me and what could have really been done differently as well.
What's the length of your training?
What's the length of your presentation?
So for my keynote presentation, it's going to be, I'm going to speak for about an hour. Then my father will speak for about a half hour or so, and then we'll answer questions. This is really the conference one. So it'll be about 2 hours. And then we're going to do the following day, we're going to do about an hour or so program of going through this slide deck presentation. And it's going to be somewhat interactive, where we're going through slides. People can ask questions as the slides are coming through, and we kind of hit on these key topics. For all the other ones, it's about 75 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on how long the Q&A goes for.
And that's so, like, if I set you up at the school, it would be about 90 minutes.
Yeah, so I always say book a 90-minute time slot, because by the time you get all the students down there, opening announcements, closing remarks, it usually ends up being 75 minutes. I've found that 75, 80 minutes is usually the sweet spot. Even with any audience, asking somebody to sit still for longer than that, you start to, especially with young people. I mean, adults can do it, but with like young people, usually 75 minutes I find is like the sweet spot for an introduction video, keynote presentation, and then Q&A. And of course, once the formal program is done, I just stay put and give people an opportunity to come speak to me personally.
And we do have, we will have Tribute Media producing all of your guys's materials for marketing and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about any of that. We're going to be working with them. So we're going to make sure that it's super polished, and then we're going to get out there as quickly as possible so that we get the best audience as possible. I told Steve he doesn't have to worry about that part of not sitting down in front of the right people. So does anybody else have any questions?
David, I do. It's Kendall. You had mentioned that Stephen's going to be in Meridian. Do you know where?
My thoughts were, and I've been having conversations with two of the principals, one at Meridian Middle and one at Centennial High School.
Okay, if you could just keep me posted, we can talk on the side.
Yes.
Awesome.
Trying to hit Boise and Meridian, because Centennial's in Boise and Meridian Middle's in Meridian. So.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a question, Susie?
I don't know if it was mentioned. Where does he come from?
He's actually coming from New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
What part?
What part of New Jersey, Stephen?
I live in Bergen County, New Jersey, which borders New York. It's like 30 minutes from New York City is the area where I live and grew up in. But I speak all over the country.
Any other questions online or in the room? Okay, so there's twofold reasons. One, to introduce our keynote speaker to you guys ahead of time. Two, looking for approval to spend $32,000 on having him keynote on top of all of the travel up and down the state to speak to all of our, as many coalitions as he possibly can.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
So a motion by Susie, second by David Roth. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That Kendall screen didn't come up this time. All right, cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stephen, so much. Feel free to jump off if you got to get to something else. You're more than welcome to hang out though.
Absolutely. No, thank you for inviting me on. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, to coming out there. Dave, just send me an email whenever you're done there, and then we'll get everything going. But looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, last thing on this part of the agenda before we get to the regional report. Sorry, we're running a little later than I wanted to. We're not doing horrible. So as you all can see, I'm all about being professional, representing. And when I started with CCI, we were all virtual, so there was not any reason to have a uniform. And once we started going out, I have a company that I've always had, just basic polos with the embroidered logo on it, just so you know exactly where I'm coming from. It's not super expensive, but everybody knows who the staff people are. It's really easy, even if you have like this name tag doesn't want to stay on, but it's folding it. Chloe wasn't a big fan of them, so I just out of my own pocket just purchased my shirts and was done with it. Lindsay saw me at ICAD and she's like, "Where's my shirt?"
Who doesn't want like a t-shirt?
Right.
Like, I don't know about a polo, but like,
So
y'all have t-shirts, send them my way.
So the shirts I bought, I actually had them for about a year and a half, so I could use a couple more new shirts. I would love to, I had Lindsay looking at the website to see kind of what style of shirt she wanted. What I'm looking for is approval from, to spend a couple $100 to make sure that we both have shirts. And what the goal is to, especially looking at how we're not spending on staff, is to bring on, there used to be 3 of us. Back before Chloe and I started, there was an executive director, a program coordinator, and a communications person. We're missing that other person. So this will be something that when I do bring it to you guys about bringing on this 3rd person, that the idea is that we're all going to be, representing the coalition properly when we're out and about. So does anybody have any questions about there was a link in the agenda. I know you can't click the paper, but the place that I go, I like to look professional, but I also would like to do it at the cheapest price possible. I have these shirts I've been wearing Queensboro polos for 6 years, and I just can't find anybody that does this price for the shirt. And actually have a really good sale right now, 50% off. So if anybody has any questions, I would love a motion to spend this money.
How much?
$200.
How much are the shirts?
They range. So some of them go all the way up to $80. Some of them are $15. Well, I think the cheapest is $30.
This one I'm wearing right now is $12.99 on sale.
So yeah, half price.
Well, I was just gonna tell you, we as the elves have a lady here local that does this. If you're interested in finding how cheap for you as well. But
Yes, I'll take that information because I'd love to work with local people over their company, not Idaho. I know that they're out back somewhere, but yes, I'll take that information. But I would like to.
Is $200 going to be enough for you and Lindsay and Jim should probably, I mean, he goes often to conferences and stuff with you. And then,
last thing I want to do is match you, but.
Thank
you.
Some
I do not wanna match.
Color,
Or
yeah.
like maybe yours is done.
We'll get you a BYD t-shirt, but I don't. There we go. Anyway, I'm just curious, like, at $30 a pop, $200 doesn't really seem like enough. I order a lot of shirts for things. It doesn't really seem like it's gonna be enough, and I don't wanna have to have this discussion in a couple of months. Well, with your motion, what would you like the dollar amount to be?
And if you have the money.
We have the money. That's the point.
Like
And I think we should spend no more than 500, and then that way you can get what you need and you know, maybe even get like something else to think of besides a shirt. You might think of like a windbreaker or a vest or something like that, that
You need to look.
I got it.
when you're
a nice
outside,
sweater.
it's like, I don't know, this was the first, this past drug take back was the first drug take back that I had ever been to that was not in a blizzard.
Yes.
So, like, it doesn't do any good to have a shirt if you have to jack cover coat covering it up. So I'm just throwing that out there. I think maybe no more than $500 is a more reasonable number. And that would be my motion, that we approve $500. Yeah, for some CCI apparel for the staff.
I'll second that motion.
I would love to make a comment too. I mean, as you and I talked, I didn't think that it meant like every single time we're out and about, we have to wear this whole shirt, but another thing I wondered about is like even just a name tag, do you know what I mean? Like you can only wear the same shirt every time, like we could get a name tag as well as some people are saying jackets, like with $500, you could get a lot more things, but it wouldn't have to be every time we're out visiting all of you. I want a shirt, but I don't want to always have to wear a blue polo, I will, but you know, I think my shirt's cute, and so like, I would love a little name tag, but you know, some variety in that, I think would be great.
These were not expensive and they turned out really nice.
I will buy it forever. I think you should add.
Swag to our teams together.
Yeah, you guys all know about the swag stuff, don't you?
Yeah, we have tools that can make it.
Okay, so
So it's not limited then, and like, I like what David said, that $500.
that's why I asked, because I'm a guy. I can wear this polo. I mean, I have 3 different colors, but I had one of these on ever since. I don't care what I look like. I'm not a girl. Girls, they wear different stuff, so good with that. I have 2 daughters. I'm a girl dad. I get it. So there's a motion to allocate $500 for staff apparel, and Susie seconded it. Any more discussion? Okay, any discussion? No questions? Danielle agrees. Thank you, Danielle. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to, do we have any committee reports? I don't think we have anybody except for Kendall. Do you have anything for the legislative committee, Kendall?
I do not have any updates.
Okay. And you don't have anything for the members, the workforce development, right, Sylvia? Okay, so moving on to our region updates. I'm gonna start with Region 7. We're gonna start with Region 1. So I'm gonna start backwards this time. So Marco, you wanna give us your update?
Yeah, let me talk about first what's going on with Sam, and they have this really big social norms campaign they did, and a giant billboard on the side of a building in their community, so that's really great. They just finished up their Salmon's Got Talent, which brought a lot of their community partners together. They did some radio ads, so that, and they're like many of the rest of us, sending a group of kids to Boise next week for that training that the state's putting on. And they also sponsored the Senior Sober, so that was going on for them. I'll talk about SIA, and then I'll let Dave talk about BYC because he's here, so it's easier to let them speak right directly on their thing. SIA, we just ended up cleaning our summer hours are now. We just finished the school year, so now it's summertime. Summertime for us is a lot of engaging kids in youth training specific, they just went to BY, this thing called BU in Utah. And then this week is the drug prevention and identify next week. And then, so we'll have 30 kids going to different events there and youth and their families. And then we'll do our annual, summertime, we do a lot of fireworks sales. That's what makes us a lot of our general fund dollars. So we do a lot of fundraising. Then the summertime, there's also a trip planned to Orlando, like we talked about earlier. And another thing, so there's so much going on as far as but we're in that summertime phase where we're not going to be direct programming. We're working on another big project for our community called, David was involved in the conversation as well as a youth assessment center. So the state put some dollars out, and that'll be another piece to what we do, where we can catch kids early on and get them connected to resources. So that's coming for us. And almost like Dave talked about BYC, what they've been up to.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of day camps planned for the summer. And we have Ray Lozano coming to do a couple of presentations. He'll be doing a presentation to youth and a presentation to parents. So thanks for that tip to get that. I don't know, those are the two things I can think of off the top of my head that we're going on right now. Abby, am I missing anything?
I don't think so. We wrapped up the drug tea track. That was successful.
Summer will be, it's kind of an easier time for us as well. We've wrapped up all of our in-school programming. Obviously, the school is now over. And so just working towards, we've got a big fundraising event at the end of the summer and the fall. Just working through all those issues.
And we are working with you guys to bring your trailer to.
Oh, yes, you want our trailer. Yeah, so right now we're just doing some final touches and remodeling now that we've had it out a little bit, sort of seeing what worked and what didn't work. So actually parked in front of my house right now.
Ours is too big, it weighs 10,000 pounds. So can't drive it.
That would be quite a trek for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right, we don't have, I don't see Chessie, is she? There. No, I don't see her. Mary Ann's not here. Heather, you want to introduce yourself? I know you probably don't have anything going on yet, but would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure, yeah, thanks. So I just came on with Region 4 in the middle of May. So I'm still working on just coming up to speed with everything and getting to know everybody. I am excited about being a little bit more knowledgeable as far as who fits where and how I can put people together, but that's my hope that I'll be able to do that quickly. Just a little bit of background. I just graduated from Boise State this May with my Master of Public Health. I've been in the area for a long time, but haven't been in this type of role for very long. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to meeting all of you. I'll talk with Becca too and pass your wishes on to her as far as getting her back. I know that she's got a lot on her plate with her new role as program manager for our team, but we're pretty happy to have her back. I'm personally very happy to have her back, being that I took on her position. So yep, that's what I've got for today. Sorry, I don't have a better update for the PFS grant.
No, we're just super happy that you're here and you got some big shoes to fill, and yeah, rely on her because she was an amazing PFS coordinator. So
yeah, that's what I hear. I'm happy to have her close.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, Shannon, you want to give us the.
First of all, hi Heather, welcome. I'm from McCall with Region 4, so I will be working with you, I'm sure. I work with Becca a lot. Meridian's updates. They did prevention presentations in 7th grade life skills classes. They did several alcohol compliance checks and shoulder taps. Unplug and be outside, natural high photography class. I think that's Monty.
Yep, that's Monty.
Yeah, that's cool. We hope to bring that up for area too. They provided prevention information at 5 different Meridian middle schools. And for spring safety, at 5 different grades, schools, spring safety flings. They presented at the National Night Out planning meeting to share prevention resources at community National Night Out parties, and had a booth at the Meridian Library Summer Reading Kickoff event. Busy. As far as YAC goes, we participated in Hope Week, and I brought a flyer to show you guys. It was pretty cool. Did you guys know what Hope Week? Healthy outcomes from positive experiences. It's an effort to combat ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences. We did that actually in 7 different schools and community groups throughout Valley County. It was pretty successful. We also worked with St. Luke's McCall to bring in Kevin Hines as a webinar. Kevin Hines is one of only 29 people to survive having jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and immediately when he left that bridge, he knew it was the wrong choice. We are also bringing him in live in September in McCall, so that's pretty amazing. I partnered with Ignite Idaho, which they also applied for that Youth Assessment Center grant. That was one of the first grants we've seen in several years that is a brick and mortar. So they applied for like 2.1 million, I believe, to buy a building in McCall. And if that happens, will probably move in with them to, because that would be a whole resource center devoted to youth and families, which will fit in better with us. We just had Senior Sober on Saturday night, and Dee Dee and I were there, and Dee Dee did the vision impairment goggles, which are huge. If you guys do not have vision impairment goggles and the tricycles, the youth love that. I put them on and couldn't even walk, and it was, I only had like 0.12. I don't know if it's only, I really don't know that. 0.12. But I could barely walk. Like, I was like, oh.
That's pretty drunk.
And then I did want to mention, since you said it, we do have several communities that want the bulletin boards, and we have been like discussing that kind of a thing. It would be nice if we did a whole statewide campaign. The other thing we've also been discussing, I don't know how many of your guys' communities have, the lampposts that have flags. So we've also been discussing buying statewide flags, so that when you went from one town to another, and possibly a hashtag, so you took a picture and then hashtag next to that with a campaign. Something
That's really good idea.
on it, right? That might be a good idea, right? And if we could think of a common, or whatever we wanted to hashtag, some sort of, well, we can think of it though. But that might be a good idea, because then from town to town, you would see the same flags and have some sort of campaign go along with it.
Cool. That's a really good idea. Thank you. That would be better than the billboards, because those could stay up until they start to get tattered
Well, and
versus.
they could go, and they could, every single, April, was that prevention month? Every single April, you could put them up in all the towns, you know what I mean, for a week or two, and then take them down to the back.
All right. I don't see Tara on, right?
I didn't know.
No, she's on vacation.
Yeah.
Jerry, you want to give us an update on
Yeah.
Region 3?
Yeah, I'm really excited to report that we did get our funding from the Office of Drug Policy of $19,000. It was a little less than what we asked for. I'd like to talk to some people about that, maybe perhaps doing a mini grant or something, because we paid a deposit to bring in tall cop and do a big day, and that came out of Prevention Associates, not even coalition money, and they took that part out of our grant. But we're really excited because our grant does have a service schedule in it. I'm just looking at it of about 13 different activities, and we realize part of what we want to do is meet with David, and we talk all about how CCI has really supported us, and that's one thing that I want to say. One of our goals this year as a coalition is to give that support back in terms of what we can do on CCI committees and just having David come in and help us with the strategic plan. That back on the point, the grant, we have Family Fun Day coming up June 11th. We have Farmer Market June 18th. And I just want to echo, those goggles are amazing with the tricycle. Somebody took a bad picture of me. If you ever see it with those goggles on, it looks like you're not quite all there and stuff. And you have it on. And I think just people seeing what you look like with those goggles, maybe gives you a little bit of a hint of, perhaps being intoxicated, what that looks like as well. But we had a real successful destination Nampa at the Nampa Public Library. It was made a 4th Be With You Day, and I got my picture taken with Darth Vader. That was kind of cool. We did that. Let's see. Gosh, other than that, we're just really interested in. We're gonna meet with David and do our strategic plan. But what we've learned about Caldwell is we come in always with big ideas, and we want this, and this, and we've kind of focused as an executive committee that we want to keep doing what we're doing well. And we have events now scheduled, like I said, that we're known for, that we have a presence at the 2C, and we're going to stay smaller like we are, and just, like I say, try to do what we do well. But I missed Tara today. I just want to put in a kudos for her. She's been amazing to team up with Southeast District Health and the Partnership for Success grant. Daphne's signed on to be our coordinator for 2C again next year, Daphne Lightfoot. So we're off and running again and excited, and thanks for your support, and again, hope to give it back. So.
Thank you, Gary. Is Kaylee on? Kaylee, you are on.
Hi. Yeah, I can give you the Region 2 PFS update. Been pretty busy in May. We were doing a bunch of our positive norms media campaigns. So No Thanks, I'll Walk campaigns about not drinking and driving. We had some coffee sleeves, posters, and billboards. We have some binge drinking prevention billboards and newspaper ads out as well. We provided some scholarships for Idaho Youth Summit with IDAFI and helped provide some funding for local school safe and sober graduation events. And I think the last thing is we have a SBIRT training later this week.
Cool. Thank you. Kelly, you want to talk about what's going on in Region 2?
Sure. So we have Cambia, Lapway, and Orfino, and all 3 coalitions are sending students to the Boise State training and then the Florida training. I think Cambia, no, not Cambia, but Lapway is sending his identify as well. Cambia just did their big fest last Saturday, and they had over 500 people. It was a really awesome organization.
It's a lot for that area.
Lots of people there. And we just had our concert in the park. What did you call it? It's not our community night out, that's in July, but
Drug and alcohol prevention fund.
yeah, so it was a partnership between our recovery group and our prevention coalition. And Natasha did an amazing job planning it. We had 7-Day Slumber, their band that speaks about recovery come in, and some local talent and prevention speakers. And we had about 220 to 250 people attend. So that's pretty awesome. And I reach out to Lapway, but I really only get what I get off of like seeing their, I don't hear back, so I just kind of stop their social media pages to get my info from them. So I don't really know more details.
They're going through a lot in Lapway right now, so we're just trying to be there for them when we can, kind of situation. So awesome. Okay, well, I think that's everybody who's here. To get us back on schedule, I know we're a minute behind already, but what I'd like to do is call for a motion to adjourn. There are some opportunities, some things you can look at on the agenda, but if we could adjourn, we could grab our lunch, and the DRE program will be giving us a training while we are eating our lunch.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Awesome. So 12:32, Susie and David Rose. All right, we're adjourned. If you guys want to, there is lunch in the back. Feel free to grab something, and we're going to be starting with the officers here in a moment.
Our
actually here just outside meeting.
Yeah, I saw that.
So those last two updates I did not get because I ran out there.
That's fine. That's on the recording, so.
I'm hopeful that it's strong enough to get done.
So what kind of these? See, this is.